Mr. Williams, and I am the programming and software development teacher at Colerain High School. And students did the robot project as an introduction to programming, and it teaches them programming concepts like loops and variables and things of that nature. The programming itself is done with a visual programming language similar to professional programming language called LabVIEW, which is used by our engineering teacher for his robots. And so it teaches them different concepts without actually having to know all the different code.
Hello, I'm Quentin Harden,
Jacob Finn.
Quincy Harden.
and we're here to talk to you about the robot that we made. Through the many protocols that we selected here, this creates the movement in which it goes using the wires here to connect to the motors, these two motors, which then circulate their power between each individual and move, so forth. And it has a select color feature that's normally displayed as green. And as it's displayed as green, if it sees something based on the ultrasound provided by this and this, it will go through a series of events that's known as a loop, as it will continue for. It will turn blue and give out a warning sign, and after that, it will ready itself before firing. It will array itself for 2 seconds before changing its color again, and that changes its color to red, and then making another sound, and then projecting these little balls right here from out of itself through the modem. We go through the files, and we check the software. And we have a software called Shooting Run, and as we activate it, it will go in a set direction until something comes in front of it. And it does as it says. And it will continue this loop again and again.
Students in the lab also have an introductory project that they do where they design video games, and again, they use a visual programming as opposed to actually doing real code. They create different types of platform video games. They create the sprites using Photoshop and then put it all together in the software. Eventually, the students get into Visual Basic after doing these introductory projects where they also create a program or create a video game using the actual programming language, which is VB.NET, and they actually make a full program and game using that code. Eventually, they get into making websites, and then they learn Java, C++, learn some basic networking, and also learn some real basic PC repair, like how to put in like a CD-ROM drive and things like that.
Is this a 1-year program or a 2-year?
This is a 2-year program that students take as juniors, which you're seeing in my background right now. They are in here first and second period, and then their senior year, they're in here fifth and sixth period. And through completing this course, they're able to actually get articulated credit with Cincinnati State up to 14 credit hours.
Okay.
My name is Ben Riccardi. I'm in Mr. Williams' programming class, and this is a video game I made. Press this key to start. I used Photoshop to create the sprites for the game, making the background transparent and just, yeah, making sure it looks nice. These variables, like whenever one of the bullets, which is a sprite, hits a enemy, it adds to my score. And whenever my character hits an enemy, it subtracts from my life. And if my life equals 0, then it's game over.
Okay, how'd you come up with the idea for the game?
I don't know. I just was thinking about games that I like to play and decided that kind of like the sort of futuristic spacey games. So I came up with, you're like kind of crash landed on an alien forest type thing, like monsters attacking you.
Was it difficult to create the game?
It was tricky figuring out some of the bits, like making the enemies coming from both sides of the screen. I ended up making several, like 2 of the same creature, one coming from the right, the other coming from the left. Same with the bullets.
Okay, students in this lab, they also have an opportunity to compete in Business Professionals of America and Skills USA. And right now, the students are preparing for Business Professionals of America regional competition. This young man here, he's created a program that has, basically you can see the code on the screen, and he's got it set up so that a person can choose quantity from drop-down boxes and quality, and then they can calculate pricing. And what he's doing is he's preparing for the different events that they have, trying to do different types of scenarios. Like there's another program here where they have to create a program that interacts with the database. And they're setting up another program where they're selling Broadway tickets to Broadway musicals, and where it has to figure cost and different things of that nature. And so that way, similar to what you might see like if you go on the internet to reserve tickets, if you were going to go to the Aronoff or somewhere like that, and they choose what shows they want to go see and then the amount of tickets they want and some of the different features that might be available with going to see a Broadway show. And so like this program here is set up so that, again, they could choose like the quantity they wanted, the quality. So there's different levels. Obviously, whenever you're dealing with printing, different levels of quality you can get, and then they can calculate the price and clear it, and then exit out. So it's a program that's similar to what they might be seeing whenever they're competing at the regional level. Also, the students have an opportunity to go for Skills USA. Last year in BPA, we had 20 students that made it to state, which was really awesome. I'm sorry, 21. And then one of those students got first in the state, and he got to go to nationals and represent Colerain in national competition. And then in Skills USA, which is another student organization where students can compete in academic events, we had 9 students that got to go to state last year, and one of those students placed 3rd in the state. And very proud of that student also.
And at the library this past Monday, we had a special program. It was called Beyond the Fairy Tales with Justice for All. What if, after Goldilocks left the house, the bears called the police and she was arrested? Now we have to go to court and decide if she's innocent or guilty. The people who decide are called the jury. You are the jury today. You will listen to everything that is said by the witnesses and the lawyers, and at the end, you will vote if you think she is guilty or innocent. Now, I will read the whole thing to you, and I'll help you a little bit by bringing out images into the proper place. We need to remember that every courtroom has a judge who kind of keeps things going. The prosecutor. He is the lawyer for the state, for us, the people that live in Ohio. He also represents the victims. In this case, the bears are the victims. Somebody broke into their house. But then he's going to call witnesses one at a time up to the stand to tell what they heard or saw. And every judge has a bailiff, somebody who helps keep track of who's standing where and make sure that everything keeps going as well. So these are the witnesses the prosecutor is going to bring. Over here, we have Goldilocks, who's what we call the defendant. She's defending herself. She said, I didn't do it. But she needs a lawyer to go up and ask the questions for her. And she has one witness. The witness in this case didn't actually see any of it, but she's what we call a character witness. someone who can say, Goldilocks really is a very nice person. Okay? All right, are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Good. Whoop, wrong one. Let's start with this one. So, court is in session. Bailiff, please call the next case. The next case is State versus Goldilocks. Goldilocks, says the judge. What are the charges? Illegal entry. She broke in. Misdemeanor theft. She stole something. Vandalism, breaking things, and trespassing, being somewhere she shouldn't be. Well, Mr. Prosecutor, please call your first witness. The state calls Papa Bear. So now Papa Bear has to come in, and he's going to give his witness. The prosecutor asked him, Mr. Bear, please tell the court what happened that afternoon in question. Well, we had just put supper on the table and discovered it was too hot to eat. So we decided to take a little walk. When we returned, the front door was standing open. Had the door been closed when you left? Oh, I'm sure it was. Mama Bear was the last one out, and she always closes it tight so the mice don't get in. Objection, Your Honor, says the lawyer. This is speculation, not fact. Mr. Bear, you can only state what you know, not what you believe. Did you actually see Mama Bear close the door? Oh, no. Well, then what happened? Well, I entered the house first to make sure it was safe. And once in, we saw the damage. What damage was that, sir? Someone had been tasting our porridge and ate all of Baby Bear's. Anything else? Yes. When they sat in each of our chairs, they broke Baby Bear's into smithereens. It splintered so badly, I can't fix it. I'm sorry to hear that. Is that all? No, sir. Then I thought I heard something upstairs, so I went up to see. When we got up there, we discovered that someone had been sleeping in our beds. Baby Bear was so startled when he realized that the culprit was still in his bed. When he cried out, she jumped up, ran past us, and out of the house. Is that person here in this courtroom? Yes, there she is sitting at the defendant's table. I'm told her name is Goldilocks. No more questions. You're a witness, Mr. Lawyer. Mr. Bear, now you just testified she jumped up and ran past you when she was awakened by Baby Bear's cry. That's right. How fast would you say she was moving? Well, she was pretty scared. She went by like a flash of yellow curls. A flash of yellow curls. Well, sir, are you sure that you identified the right girl with yellow curly hair? Isn't it possible that there could be another girl with yellow curls? Well, I'm pretty sure it's her. Nothing more. You may step down, Mr. Bear. Next witness, the state calls Mama Bear. We're going to bring up Mama. Mrs. Bear, when you left the house, did you close the door behind you that day? I know I closed that door. I'm very careful about these things. Do you have anything to add to Papa Bear's description of what happened? Only that I got a glimpse of the girl's blue eyes as she ran by us, and that young lady has the same blue eyes. I'm certain that it's her. Let the record show that the defendant, Goldilocks, has once again been identified as the intruder. Mrs. Bear, are you aware that blonde hair and blue eyes often go together? Are you certain this is the same person you saw run past you? Well, the girl was also about my height, and so is Miss Goldilocks. Yes, I do believe she's the same girl. Goldilocks' lawyer jumps up and says, believe? I see. Nothing further. Thank you, Mama Bear. You can step down.
Detective Bob.
They now call Detective Bob. And it's actually a girl whose name is Bobby. Yeah. The state calls Detective Bob. Detective, you took the report that day and did the investigation. What did you find? When I arrived, the Baby Bear was still pretty shook up. Baby Bear was hungry and crying. I quickly determined that someone had eaten his porridge, broken his chair to bits, and slept in his little bed. They had also tampered with his parents' things. The suspect was a female with blonde curly hair about Mama Bear's height. Was Miss Goldilocks your only suspect? Oh no, we had several blonde, blue-eyed girls in the village to consider. There's Cinderella, but they said it was a young girl, and Cinderella's now a married woman. I considered Sleeping Beauty since she's always taking naps, and I thought maybe she fell asleep in Baby Bear's bed. But she rode off with Prince Charming last month. Then there's Alice in Wonderland. She's been in trouble before. Remember the incident with the Queen of Hearts? I really thought it might be her. We put Goldilocks' picture in the photo lineup just because she fit the description. We never expected the bears to identify her, but they did. Did you interview anyone else who identified Miss Goldilocks that day? Yes, the woodsman and the Little Red Riding Hood. Thank you, Detective. You're a witness, Mr. Lawyer. Mr. Detective, or Miss Detective rather, you say you added my client to the photo lineup just because she fit the description. Does she have any prior incidents? Has she been in trouble before? No, that's why we were so surprised that she was identified as a suspect. She's never done anything like this before, according to our records. Thank you. No further questions. The state now calls the woodsman. The woodsman. There he is. Did you see a blonde girl in the woods that day? I certainly did. She nearly ran into Little Red Riding Hood as she came around the bend, and they both screamed. I think they just surprised each other. The one with the yellow curls hardly slowed down. She just yelled, I'm so sorry, and kept running. Did you see where she was coming from and which way she went? Yes, she was coming from the direction of the bear's home and took the path that leads right into the village. Have you ever seen her around there before? She wanders around in the woods by herself quite often. I'm surprised her parents let her do that. That big bad wolf prowls around there. Is that girl in the courtroom today? Yes, that girl is right there. Let the record show that the girl indicated is the defendant, Goldilocks. Thank you, sir. Your witness? I have no questions for this witness, says the lawyer. You may step down. Your Honor, the state calls one more witness, Little Red Riding Hood. Miss Hood, the woodsman tells us that you saw a girl with curly yellow hair running through the woods the evening in question. Yes, she nearly knocked me down. I almost spilled Granny's soup. Had you seen her before? Sometimes I see her wandering in the woods by herself. I don't know if she realizes how dangerous that can be. I always call my mother as soon as I get to Grandma's and when I'm on my way home again. Do you know her name or where she lives? No, I've only seen her in the woods. She was heading for the village that evening, though. Thank you, Miss Hood. Does the defense have any questions for this witness? No, Your Honor. The prosecution rests. Once they finished all their witnesses. Does the defense have any witnesses to call? Yes, Your Honor, we have one character witness. We call Goldilocks' mother, Mrs. Locks, to the stand. Mrs. Locks, were you aware that your daughter was playing in the woods? Absolutely not. My husband and I were horrified to learn that she was doing so. We have always cautioned her about the big bad wolf that lurks in those woods. Mrs. Locks, do you believe your daughter committed these crimes? No, I do not. We have raised our daughter to respect other people's property and to ask before using anything that belongs to someone else. She has always been very good about using her manners. Thank you, Mrs. Locks. Nothing further. Mr. Prosecutor, do you have any questions for this witness? No, Your Honor. Mr. Prosecutor, do you have a closing statement? A brief one, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we believe that our case clearly shows that the defendant, Goldilocks, is clearly guilty of all charges against her: trespassing, misdemeanor theft, and vandalism. It is up to you now to find her guilty. Does the defense have a closing statement? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you must make your decision based on the facts and proof that my client is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If there is any doubt at all, you cannot find her guilty. You heard Papa Bear say that the girl ran by in a flash of golden curls. Mama Bear says she believes it's my client. These statements are not conclusive. Was my client in the woods that day? Yes, she was simply playing, nothing more. When she ran into Miss Hood, she was simply in a hurry to get home for dinner. These crimes may well have been committed by some other blonde, blue-eyed girl about Mama Bear's height. If there's any doubt in your mind, you must find my client innocent of all charges. Now here's the judge's instructions. Members of the jury, you must now consider all the evidence presented and decide for yourself. Is the defendant, Goldilocks, innocent or guilty? We'll give you a few moments to think about that. You may talk to your neighbor for a couple moments quietly. What do you think? Order in the court. At this time, we ask by a show of hands, how many believe she is innocent? How many believe she is guilty? Fine, please put your hands down, thank you. Miss Goldilocks, the majority have voted and found you guilty of all charges. You are ordered to pay for a new chair for Baby Bear, and you must do 3 hours of service every week for 20 weeks. Since you like the woods so much, we're going to set you up with the park rangers, and you can help them clear up the trails. Case dismissed.